Hi everyone, KattChatt here, and welcome to the new video. Remember that movie review I did of the box trolls? Well, this is a similar thing except I'm not going to use the ranking system. Ladies and gents, Pigeon Boy. This French cartoon was released in 2002 and is one of my favourite childhood shows. It's from the company Miller Majors and was directed by Claude Alex. Miller Majors is known for making shows like The Hydronauts, Honey and Bernie, CJ the DJ, and Flightmania. Claude Alex has directed shows such as Archibald the Koala, which was also a part of my childhood. Pigeon Boy the character is a 15-year-old named Randolph, or Randy for short, who, aside from working on a news blog with his two friends, Arthur and Chloe, is your typical teenager. When there is an evil scheme going on, the city pigeons turn him into Pigeon Boy, often at inconvenient times. The showrunner intended Pigeon Boy to be sort of a goofy parody of Batman, or at least inspired by Batman, and I think it works well. Instead of fighting supervillains like the Joker or Dr. Draken from Kim Possible, he deals with realistic crimes like thievery, scams, or on the episode we'll be looking at, sabotage and extortion, along with drug use. The episode we'll be covering today is called Life is a Game of Football, or in its French, La Belle au Bond, which has elements I want to talk about, since Pigeon Boy does sometimes go into more adult themes than what is usually acceptable in a kids show nowadays. Another reason I wanted to look at this episode is because it's the only full episode I could find, and even then, only it's in original French. But I do know enough about the episode to be able to review it. However, I can't quote everything, and there are scenes I can't remember the best, where it's very dialogue heavy. Take my rundowns and any possible dubbed dialogue with a grain of salt. I've also found clips of the show, some in French and some in English, so I can at least show you a couple of things about it I am unable to with the French version. Without further delay, let's get into it, starting with the theme song, which I can show you in English.
It's plain to see that he can't be the coolest boy in town, but he'll beat out the devil whenever trouble is around. For as the fickle faded fair, the flutters to the ground.
I'll be honest, I can't catch everything the singer is saying, but it's still a really good theme. The music is wonderful, energetic, and the song explains what the show is about, and the basic premise without bugging us down with the details, like certain other intros.
Hammer man! Hammer! Hammer man! Hammer!
I'm so glad it's not a rap. The art style seems to be the most hit or miss with people. All I can tell you is that I like it. It's interesting and unique, a style I grew very fond of as a child. The animation isn't the best there is, but is still good and suits the style very well. On with the episode! It starts in a locker room with the manager of a soccer team giving them the rundown about the upcoming match. And yes, since its English was dubbed in the UK, it's called football, hence the title. But I'll be calling it soccer because that's what we call it in Australia. He seems to put his faith in their star player, Daniel Stratham, who eats his lucky yogurt before each match. The team starts chanting as the manager goes to get the lucky yogurt. His secretary gets it for him and he laces it with drugs. Yes, really. He serves it to Daniel and they get hyped for the match. In the stadium, Chloe is lamenting to Arthur that they didn't get to stand at the bottom with the other reporters. At Randall's house, if I remember correctly, his father is complaining about how the soccer season is going, which is poorly, and that Randall couldn't get him tickets to the game, despite him being a part of the newspaper. Randall resents his father on what he said, and the fact that he couldn't get his pass to the game, storming off. The father doesn't seem to notice what he did wrong and comments on his confusion. I never really liked Randall's father. He always seemed too selfish to me. The dumb dad trope a pinch too far. Not as far as Family Guy, but far enough for him to come off as unlikable most of the time. In this episode, he only appears about 3 times, and he doesn't do a lot, so he doesn't really harm the episode for me. Speaking of that, during the game, Daniel is getting noticeably lethargic, exhausted, and with a score of 0-3, they lose. The manager is trying to hide his smiling face, but Arthur and Chloe notice, making note that it looks like he wanted his team to lose. They decide to talk to Daniel. They find him crying in the changing rooms and ask if he's okay. He says he wants to quit because he's been having so many losses for a good while. Apparently his legs feel like lead and he can't understand why. Then Arthur and Chloe get caught by the secretary and she gets security to kick them out. Sometime later, the manager and his secretary are at the mayor's office and get him to pay him more money, $10 million to be exact. The mayor says no at first, saying the school needs repairs, but relents when they use emotional manipulation tactics and then blackmail to change his mind. At Ted School, we see how much repair the school needs as Randall and his friends talk about what happened with Daniel and almost get crushed by a ceiling. Jeez, mate. The mayor gives the money to the manager in the middle of a harbour, and the Pigeons, who have seen everything going on up to this point, get Randall's help the next day. He's sitting in line for a checkup at the school, when... Randall quickly tries to find a place to hide to turn into Pigeon Boy, while in his underwear. He quickly ducks into the doctor's office, hides behind the X-ray screen, and transforms. Arthur distracts the doctor while Pigeon Boy gets away, unseen. For the record, Arthur and Chloe do know Randall is Pigeon Boy, if you didn't know that from the intro. But they make sure that Randall doesn't know that they know. This is because if Randall gets discovered to be Pigeon Boy, he'll quit being a superhero. His friends want him to continue being a superhero because they know he does so much good as Pigeon Boy. So they keep quiet about it to him and everyone else. Personally, I find them both great friends to him. But they help him as much as they knowably can without revealing that they know his secret. Even when he thinks he's in this alone, he's not, and his friends are clearly good people to consistently have his back like this. Speaking of, as Pigeon Boy goes on his mission, Arthur finishes up with the doctor and gets Randall's clothes for him. He's on the phone with Chloe as they whisper about what just happened, while she's in line in her underwear. Did you know that this show is rated G? Anyway, after nearly getting into a car crash, he infiltrates the UFC, the Ultrapolis Football Club, and listens in on a meeting the manager is having with some shady guy in a coat. Because it's always some shady guy in a coat. The manager is getting paid to sabotage his own team. I forgot why, unfortunately, especially since he just got paid $10 million. Pigeon Boy soon gets discovered and he runs away. He hides in a garbage bin, and his pigeon side gets the better of him and he eats a worm which was crawling on a yogurt pot from yesterday. He takes the pot for later and tries to make a break for it, but is immediately spotted by the secretary. We then get a chase scene that includes Pigeon Boy accidentally getting kicked like a soccer ball and scoring a goal. He squirts birdseed porridge in the manager's face, and gets Daniel to question why he's chasing him in the first place, since all the manager said was to catch him. Pigeon Boy starts to feel the effect of the drugs, but he manages to get away thanks to the pigeon's new cycle upgrade. Yes, in the show, the pigeons come up with a way for Pigeon Boy to fly in every episode, with most of them failing, hence why it changes so often. From the top of my head, they used a weather balloon, the Baron's triplane, small rocket jets, and plane propellers. This time around, it's a freaking slingshot, which shoots him into the expressway, with his cape serving as a parachute. He gets some cars to collide by accident, and then crashes off to the side of the road. The pigeons decide to turn him back to normal. Back at the mayor's, he's having a press conference with Arthur and Chloe in the crowd. The mayor, again from memory, talks about why he's giving less money to the school than he said he would. Arthur and Chloe question him and bring up the possible extortion, and get kicked out by security. In the next scene, Randall is in the care of the ambulance, who have just taken him to the hospital where his mother works as a doctor. She questions him as to what happened.
Mais qu'est-ce qui t'est arrivé? On m'avait dit que
t'inquiète pas, maman, c'est rien, c'est juste un pari idiot que j'ai fait. Pour gagner, je devais faire du vélo en slip sur l'autoroute, c'est tout bête, tu vois. C'est un truc d'ado typique, hein, y a pas de quoi s'angoisser.
Ah bon? Eh bien, on peut dire qu'ils m'ont fait peur, les autres. Ils m'ont dit qu'ils t'avaient trouvé évanoui.
Oui, c'est normal, ça aussi, ça faisait partie du pari.
Ah oui? Oh, c'est sûr que je me souviens plus très bien comment on s'amusait à ton âge, mais tout de même.
Eh, dis maman, j'aurais 2 services à te demander.
Oh oui, mon chéri, de quoi s'agit-il? Dis-moi.
Le premier, ce serait de faire analyser ce pot de yaourt.
Oh oui, ça c'est facile. Et le second?
Eh ben, si tu pouvais détacher ma sangle, ça serait cool, parce que là, tu vois, je crois que je suis en train de perdre un bras.
Oh mon Dieu, pauvre amour.
Later, back at Randall's house, him and his friends are working on their latest story, when his mother comes in asking about where he found the yogurt pot. He decides to take this conversation to somewhere private. He asks her what she found about the pot, and she says it's some sort of compound that I can't remember the exact terminology for. She describes the symptoms which, of course, match the symptoms that both Daniel Streatham and Randall had after eating the yogurt. In his bedroom, Arthur and Chloe discuss the supposed project on Pigeon Boy's mission and figure out that it and the mayor's funding decisions are linked. And then this happens.
Et de toute façon, je l'aime bien, Roro, comme ça. Je trouve que ça donne un petit côté mystérieux. C'est plutôt sexy.
Hein? C'est quoi qui est sexy?
Ah, Arthur, quand il enlève ses patins et qu'il s'est lavé les pieds, tu trouves pas?
Yes, in a show aimed at children, they have drug use, minors in their underwear, and the use of the word sexy. I miss the show way too much. Later, back at the UFC, Pigeon Boy breaks in. Sort of. And preps the video screen for the big reveal. With the sound of his war cry, he crashes the practice of the soccer team. The team demonstrates theirs, and then Pigeon Boy shows them what their manager has been doing. They turn on said manager, but the fun's not quite over yet. The secretary tries to attack, with nunchucks of all things, and she is quickly dealt with, but will be freed from punishment for a couple of favours. Those favours being Arthur and Chloe getting to be the announcers of the next match, and Randall and his father getting good seats to the game. And that's the episode. Even though I'm not a French speaker, it was still all kinds of nostalgic to watch this episode again. It reminds me of why this is one of my favourite shows that I watched as a kid. It's funny, it's charming, the music is really good, and the premise is interesting. And I can't imagine my childhood without it. I miss it a lot, and I do hope its English version gets released on YouTube, Netflix, or on DVD again, but in a full season pack, since it did only get 1 season. Like, if that ever happened, if there was an entire season pack of Pigeon Boy being sold at JB Hi-Fi, I'll just head to my nearest one and go,
Shut up and take my money.
And again, why not YouTube? If Cornelia and Bernie, the Hydronauts, and a sizable amount of their kin made it onto YouTube with seemingly no trouble, why not this? Anyway, aside from the Box Trolls review, this video was pretty much like the Faith video I made a bit ago. It's one I just wanted to make. And I hope you liked it. See you for the next Pro-Con video. Bye!